Big Rock Ranch in August of 2023 with the intention of providing myself a space not only to be able to keep my horse and horses on the property that I live on, but also to give a space for Honey to have her baby. The property has a 2-stall barn, but it doesn't have a foaling barn or a stall large enough for Honey to have her baby in. And while she could have her baby in one of the pastures, it's a perfectly safe place for her to have it. However, I felt we needed to have some sort of foaling barn or a stall for her. So I did the research and decided that I wanted a 12 by 24 stall. I spoke with many of the companies and their salespeople, got quotes. I happened to do some work for Sterling Equine for their SEO through another agency friend of mine, and I really liked the Sterling stalls. Sterling Equine did not give me any sort of incentive to do this video. They didn't sponsor it. I decided that after doing research and looking at YouTube videos and online documentation, websites and whatnot for all of the stall companies, I couldn't really find any videos of these prefabbed or custom stalls being installed. So I was not sure what I was getting into. Sterling Equine has done a great job of providing instructions on how to install the stalls or put them together, and their sales staff have been absolutely amazing and holding my hand and really helped me through the whole process, but it's still somewhat nerve-wracking. So I put this video together of the entire project, especially with this building that I decided to use. It's not intended to be a horse barn, but it's rather just a steel building with a concrete floor. I know that there's a lot of people out there that probably are in the same boat as me. I'm not very construction savvy. I do try to build as much as I can around the property. So with that, I'm going to show you video of us trying to figure out how to get everything into this space and some of the things we had to do to make these stalls work. The video starts out with where the building was when I first started. There were some problems with leaking and it was a big mess. So I'm going to take you through this entire process, including figuring out how the stalls are going to go in and installing them completely, plus the work that I had to do to cut the tongue and groove wood that goes in the stalls themselves. In the end, they ended up being a beautiful stall, and watch all the way to the end because you'll see Honey with her baby using the stall and the entire process. The building that was, I call Big Bertha for the lack of what else to call it, has now turned into this really gorgeous barn, and I use it with a smile on my face. I pulled this before video from the TikTok account for the ranch that I made, sort of giving a tour of the entire ranch. This was the part where I showed what I call Big Bertha is the name of the building, but that right there you can see is where the stalls are gonna go. And then this is just a view of what the rest of the building looks like. So there's the first bay, the middle bay, and then the right bay. This is a walkthrough of that first bay where the stalls are going to go. You can see that little building that I use as a deck room. That is going to have to get moved. And then there's kind of a old door there in the back. There's a lot of leaking that happens in this building. You'll notice a lot of moisture in the concrete. There's some wood there leaning against the wall, and there's a mower that was left by the previous owner. All of this stuff needs to get cleaned up, obviously, before we can have the stalls there, and also take care of all of this moisture on the ground. So the first thing that we needed to do was to move this building that I use as a tack room from that left bay where the stalls are going to go into the middle bay. I sped this part up because we moved very, very slowly using the excavator. You can see just sort of inched it along. So here's some photos of what it looked like once the building was moved. That's where the stalls are going to go. Clearly had a lot of work to do. Right there. That's where the stalls are going to go. All that wood is put away. So this entire area here, 25 feet by 25 feet, is going to get a 12 by 24 stall in it for mom and baby. So what are we doing? So tell me.
Did you see the new shirt? Yeah. The sweatshirt? This is us.
Oh, hey.
Allie made it his future wife.
Nice.
Made it, my youngest daughter.
She's got a cricket.
And yeah, she's got a cricket. She doesn't make crickets, so she has to.
So this is the part where I'm going to introduce you to Ryan Bohan. Ryan is the salesperson at Sterling Equine that helped me design the stalls and get everything ready for this building. There's a lot of complications with this building, and the beauty of Sterling stalls is that we were able to custom fit to be able to get them to work in this space.
I talked to, we were hoping that the partition would sit inside that beam.
Yeah.
We're hitting it like pretty much dead on.
Okay.
That's gonna bring everything. Yeah. So we're gonna have to bring everything this way.
Just a little bit.
We're gonna bring it out and not over.
Not over.
Just out.
Okay.
So we're gonna put a 4x4 post there. And then we'll do our angle to height the beam.
Okay. The problem with these beams is because they angle. That's what's making this whole thing tricky.
So you'll get boxes that come with your shipment of stalls.
Yeah.
And if you're doing Euros, you'll get your post caps, which we have different kinds of post caps, but for this particular one, we did aluminum caps. They'll come all wrapped up, and these are just going to be placed directly into your post, and then they screw in.
Okay. And those are the bottom or the top? Those are the tops.
That's for
Those
the top.
caps.
This is what
Got it.
caps it, makes it look pretty.
Okay.
This is more.
So that's what I chose between the flat or the nice round.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And then for this particular setup, since we're doing round columns, we had to have some bolts to attach the round columns to the next stall.
Okay.
And we did columns on this particular setup in between the stalls as well, which isn't always done. Sometimes we can just go to a post or go to our partitions, but we were doing a hinge partition, so we needed some sort of post, and we opted for round columns for the look.
Got it. Okay.
And that's what this is for.
Okay.
And then this is for our mounting channel. So the only piece that's going to be actually attached to the barn is going to be your end partition, which will go somewhere along this here.
Okay.
And after we've lined the wall, the mounting channel, which I don't, oh, there it is. So this mounting channel will just go right up against the lined wall, and we'll screw it in using these. And then our partition can slide right into this. And then we have some adjustability, right? Because we got some depth here.
Yeah.
So we just need a little bit of catch, but the deeper you can go, the better. So we want good measurements. But we always want to build something smaller, a little smaller than a little too big where it wouldn't fit. So we'll do a takeoff on our stall partitions and fronts, and then make up any distance with channels like this.
Okay.
To mount. to the back wall.
Perfect.
stop that if I wasn't being filmed.
The pressure's on.
boards. We had measured by taking all the way up into the channel to the bottom of the cutout notch, which we will show you here in a minute. But to get our boards started, we decided on having our tongue moving this way on our tongue and groove boards. Instead of having to go all the way down to the very end to slide them all in, I'm just going to put them in at a diagonal so I don't have to walk as far on a long piece like this. It's really easy to slide these in. Make sure they all go together. The other thing I'll note is that this wood has a bevel on the outside and it doesn't on this side, so we're bringing the flat piece to the inside and having the pretty to the outside. When you get down to the last few boards, you'll have to use the notch. We have a cutout here to make it easier to slide your boards in, especially the last few. And again, you want to measure from up inside this channel to the top of this cutout notch, and that's how you get your length for your boards. And we'll slide in like this. Depending on the length of your panel, you may need to cut the last board, and you also may need to cut the tongue off of the second to last board to make them fit perfect here at the end.
So this is the part where Ryan helps me understand all the different features that are unique to Sterling Equine stalls.
So we need concrete anchors to do our posts here. If you do opt for a hinged Euro look, you will need to have at least a strip of concrete to place these stall fronts on. If not, do your aisleway in concrete. Give us something to anchor these into the ground. These, I believe, were concrete wedge anchors that we used. So we pre-drilled the hole once we placed our post. So we used the pattern on our base plate, and we just drilled right through. That way we knew exactly where they needed to go. We didn't have any issues there. So lay out your stalls, figure out where everything's going, then go ahead and drill your holes for the concrete anchors. And once you put those concrete anchors in there, they are a wedge, so as you tighten down on them, they expand down into the concrete, and that's what holds it into place. And it's very, very sturdy. We use a punch channel for our mid bar. This allows us to bring our bars through the channel and then do tack welding here at the bottom, and it's going to give you the same strength. But what happens is at your weld is going to be your weakest point, and if you come in close here, you can see that there's a lot of moisture sitting on these stalls. We want to prevent your welds breaking here, which is why we like the punch channel. It gives you that extra strength and durability, plus a really clean look. Most of the time, the dust and debris and moisture is going to sit right here on this mid bar. That's why we do that. Another really cool feature is our bar spacing. We want to make sure that horses' nose and hooves are not going to be coming through the bars. That's a really good way to prevent it, is to really pay attention to spacing when you're purchasing your stalls. So anything above the mid bar, you want to have on 3-inch centers if the bars are 1 inch. That's going to give you a 2-inch spacing between below the mid bar. We want to do even tighter spacing because that's where we're going to have our most amount of kicks and things like that. So we actually do the same bars, but they are now spaced where there's only 1.5 inches between the bars. And that would be a 2.5 inch center to center one. We have one of the coolest plunger latches on the market. We are the only company that does a fully removable plunger latch in case something ever were to happen. So we are aware that high use items are the first thing that'll go on a stall. We make ours to last. However, if something were to go wrong, it's more than likely going to be a high use item. So this is something you're using every day. We've made it so that you can fully remove this and completely replace it without cutting any welds. Most other companies, you'd have to cut the welds out in order to replace or do maintenance on it, and that's going to give you a really catchy look once you repair the welds and everything. The other thing of note is our ball for the plunger latch can be completely removed, and the entire plunger latch still remains functional. One of the issues that we see with some of our competitors and their balls on their plunger latches is if they were to fall off or get kicked off or something like that, the plunger latch then can get stuck in the locked position, making it difficult to have access to your horses, especially if you don't have a secondary access such as a Dutch door. We also have designed this so that you don't have pinched fingers. That's something that's very common we see in plunger latches, is that you can get your fingers pinched. We've created a really nice spacing and nothing to where your fingers could possibly get pinched. And our doors fully open. So that you don't have any obstructions in the aisleway when your door is open. That keeps your aisleway free and clear. It's just a really good safety feature to have that. One of the main concerns I hear with people who are kind of going in between sliders and hinge doors is that they've had an issue with one or the other in the past. products due to low quality items. With hinge doors, you want to make sure hinges are rated for the weight of the door. These doors are incredibly heavy. So if you don't have a hinge that can handle that weight for a long time, they will start to sag and drag on your concrete and create issues for you. So we use our rod end hinge. It's stainless steel, so it's not going to rust. And it actually can hold more than the weight of this door. It's a clean look. They operate very easily. They have no maintenance to them. And again, your doors can open all the way and lay flush with your stall front.
Before I could say the stalls were finished, I still had some work to do. Remember that water on the floors in the beginning? And during the project, there was water all over the floors. Well, there were some leaks happening in the building that needed to get taken care of. There was also some drainage problem. So John Kransjcevich and his crew, Jordan and Ricky, helped with digging a trench along the back of the building. Just throw it on top of them.
Come on, man.
Said you want it right there.
They also sealed in those weird doors that weren't really doors so that water couldn't get into the building from the sides anymore. Ricky pressure washed the roof and sealed in all of the holes that she found on the roof. And they did drainage in the front of the building as well. When that was all finished, I worked on the walls of the stall. This is my friend Henry, who helped me figure out how to get the board in there just right. This is what the stalls look like when the walls were finished. So here I am putting in the shaving and the final tour. The stalls are completely in, and Honey is using her foaling barn. I have extra shavings stored over there, and I made a little sort of feeding station. This can is on a little, like all these little skateboards. They're for moving, but it helps me get these in and out super easy. And then I got water. For now, I have water coming all the way from the faucet. And a very long hose. Maybe this summer I'll get a line all the way out to the barn. And then we installed lights. So I just ordered these. There's like $100 on Amazon. These string LED lights. They're actually quite bright. So they light up the barn, or bertha. I guess I'm calling it a barn now. Really, really well. So, and then I found these hooks on Amazon, and that keeps the pitchforks and broom and the blower out of reach. And mats in here. Honey's stall is, I keep the shavings kind of away from the walls. By the time morning comes, she'll have these all pushed against, so it's a daily thing. But that should hopefully help this wood. So when it's not resting there, keeps it from rotting, or at least helps it anyway. And it almost looks like this was meant to be a barn all along. There's the pasture she goes out to during the day, and there's the whole building in all its glory.